Right, we're live. Well, welcome everybody, and anybody that's listening otherwise. I know that Catherine and Stuart Boothman are trying to listen. There's also apologies from Ian Bain, who still is unable to gain access, but is watching it on YouTube. And we've got apologies from Councillor David Dagger. Are there any other apologies? I presume the silence means we haven't. So we move on to members' declaration of interest. Are there any interest to declare? And again, the silence. And so we move on to item 4, which is to approve as a correct record the minutes of the meeting of the Climate Change and Environmental Wellbeing Overview and Scrutiny meeting, which took place on the 7th of December last year. And again, I'm hoping that people accept it as a true record. Any dissent from that? Okay, thank you. I haven't got any urgent items, and so we move on to item 6, which is going to be a presentation by Peter Leighton-Jones, our Senior Climate Change Manager, and he's going to speak about the Climate Change Action Plan, which is, I think, has altered slightly, but welcome, Peter.
Thank you, Chair. Can you hear me okay, given the issues we've had with some people? Okay, that's great. So it's going to be a verbal update from me today, just taking stock of where we're at with the climate change programme as things stand. The climate change team has been in place now for nearly 6 months, which has gone quite quickly. And although we're a small service, we've had a lot of impact, I think, in a short space of time. And obviously, we've created the Climate Change Action Plan and started to implement the programme of work that sits behind it. There's also been a lot of work required to set strong foundations so we can build upon that and start trying to bring services together to work more collaboratively to achieve some of these big challenges that lay ahead, really. But I think there does need to be a recognition that there's still a huge amount of work to do. The journey's only just started, really, in earnest. And the good thing is there is now a path to follow, and that is clear, at least for the organisational net zero work. District-wide efforts, I think, need further development, but the required policy interventions are beginning to take shape, I think, now. And the West Yorkshire Combined Authority have done a tremendous amount of good work, I think, in this regard, which will benefit all of the local authorities in the region, including ourselves. Some of the more established decarbonisation work within the council can be considered as embedded, or broadly speaking, business as usual, I suppose. And while some of those projects are well underway, they now need to be expanded and scaled up to give us what we need in terms of the carbon reductions that have been allocated against them. So in terms of the main projects that satisfy those criteria of being business as usual, I think the following are probably pertinent. So the council has signed up to the White Rose Forest, as you'll know, which is part of the wider Northern Forest Initiative. And there's a 5-year planting plan underway to establish hopefully 250 hectares of new woodland on council-owned land by 2050, which is roughly when it will have established. There have been a few issues this year that have impeded the scope of planting that was originally planned. We've had to scale back some efforts in that regard, and it's mainly due to the pressures created by coronavirus restrictions, and also some difficulties encountered in obtaining Forestry Commission consents, again, due to some of the resourcing pressures around coronavirus.